Raptors Today, the virtual edition on the air. The Toronto Raptors getting set for Game 1 against the Boston Celtics. The protests still continuing in the bubble in Orlando. Here's a series schedule, but in light of recent events, we're not quite sure when the series is going to start, as the Raptors and the Bucks, or the Raptors and the Celtics, are set to play Game 1. But we've had an issue. Another shot being fired, another rock being thrown through a window, Sherm, with the statement being made today with the Milwaukee Bucks boycotting their game against the Orlando Magic. They had a 3-1 lead. They boycotted this game. If Orlando gets the win, it makes it 3-2. But this is bigger than basketball right now. Adrian Wojnarowski tweeting here that the Bucks have made the decision in the wake of the Jacob Blake shooting in Wisconsin, ultimately deciding that they would leave the locker room for the start of the game. They wouldn't leave the locker room for the start of the Game 5 against Orlando. Sherm, we get another tweet from Sham Charania. The players are quite serious, and I think they're continuing to make a stand, and good for them, but we need policies and procedure changes to really start this thing in motion.
Yeah, they do. And I really think that, what we're seeing about these tweets about what the Bucks are doing, I mean, they're also contacting Attorney General in Wisconsin to plead this case and to really make some noise about it. And ultimately, I think it's really a sign of unity. It's a sign of the NBA players in that bubble standing together. And listen, this happened in Wisconsin. The Milwaukee Bucks did the right thing in taking that stand and continuing to keep this conversation at the forefront and continuing to make strides. So good thing to see, and I think it's going to happen a few more times.
Well, sure, and I agree. And the players weren't sure about going down to the bubble in the first place. They're taking a stand now, but maybe it's my own personal impatience right now, having watched all of this for so long. There needs to be more action. There needs to be policies and procedural changes. There needs to be laws. I mean, the people that shot Breonna Taylor are still out there. The guys that killed Eric Garner and Michael Ferguson got off without any charges. We're watching public lynchings and nothing's happening. Yet Congress can interject themselves into a steroid scandal in baseball and call everybody in front of Senate hearings, but I'm not hearing anything now. So to me, I guess it's my own impatience, own emotional state right now. I want to see more changes. I want to see more immediate policies, procedures, and things that will turn this thing around. Enough is enough.
Yeah, actionable items. That's what we need to see. We need to see movement. And at the end of the day, right now, the players are doing what they can in the moment. And I don't think they should be knocked for saying that's not enough or they should be doing more. Listen, everybody plays a role in this, and the players are doing what they are doing right now, and it's a positive thing. But to your point, Jonesy, a lot more has to happen on so many levels. And it has to happen now. It's not something that can be put off and could be tied up with red tape and the excuse of, well, it takes time to get these things done. Make some moves now, because this is the issue that we're having. We have a little time. We see what happened to George Floyd. Then we fast forward a few months, and then we see this happen again. And then what are we going to do? Wait for the next thing to happen? It's enough. Because right now, what's being done is manageable from a physical and an aggressive standpoint. We don't ever want it to get to that point of being more aggressive and more physical, but you can only beat somebody down for so long before they start to defend themselves. And right now, we're feeling like we need to defend ourselves.
All right. Before all of the action went down in terms of the Bucks boycotting and deciding to leave the floor for Game 5 against Orlando, Nick Nurse and the Raptors spoke in advance of their game against the Celtics. Let's listen to head coach Nick Nurse.
I don't think I could probably put a percentage on it or anything, Mike. I think that, again, it's ongoing discussions. I think it is on the table. There's some other ideas on the table as well. I don't know. I guess it's kind of the way things are in the state of the world right now. You kind of gotta prepare the best you can for what you think's going to happen in a day. And if something changes, you better be ready to switch course, right? I mean, it's been a strange year for that, but we're kind of the way we're living right now is you got to take what comes and then try to do what you can about it and do the best you can with it, right? We give them the platform to discuss it. They take their own initiative. They had a meeting last night. It is a player-led thing that I'm here to listen, help facilitate. If there is any leadership thoughts I can provide, I try to provide them, but mostly just listening and giving any guidance or thoughts or my own personal ideas or opinions as well. That's about it. I think that it gets to this point for a couple reasons, right? One is the players are deeply disappointed that the same thing happens again in a relatively short time frame, right? They want to be part of the solution. They want to help. They want justice. They want this particular problem to be handled in a much better way. Okay, that's the first thing. Boycotting, the game has come up for them and as a way to, again, try to demand a little more action. And I think that's really what they want. I think there's enough. I think there's enough attention, Eric, and there's not quite enough action. And I think that's what I can sense from the discussion is their disappointments of, man, how can we get something to change, right? Like now we need something to change, not just attention on the problem. We need a plan of action. So I think that's about what I could share with you. I'm not trying to push them any way or another. I think I'm just trying to, again, be a ear and listen. What I would say is I continue to give them a platform to share with each other. It would, before we start every session that we're together, whether it's a film session or a practice or whatever, I'm opening the floor. When we close a film session or close a practice, I'm opening the floor again if there's any discussion that needs to take place. And then there's several one-on-one conversations going on with these guys, pre-practice, post-practice, pre-meeting, post-meeting, or whatever as well. And I guess that's all I can say is I'm trying to give them a forum to talk as much as and as often as I can. I'm trying to respect their priorities, right? And
Yep.
And also just give them some of my own personal thoughts. I mean, like I've had a couple really deep, heartfelt discussions with a few of these guys here this morning. About playing, not playing, being in the bubble, leaving the bubble, coming to the bubble, or all these things. And I just give them my own personal opinions on it. From our standpoint, I guess I wouldn't know about the Celtics part, right? But from our standpoint, I think that we got some pretty conscientious guys, right? I think we obviously have the footage and the situation with Masai just coming out, and our team just saw that recently as well, right? A little bit like right before you guys saw it. So there is some personalness to this, I think, with part of our group, and certainly a big part of our organization, Masai. That's kind of all I can say for the first part of your question. And the second part, I guess I really don't know. I mean, no, it's not true. I have heard a couple of our guys say they're thinking about going home, right? But I don't know if that's a team-wide thing. I think I stay with my original statement when they said, do you think it's a good idea if you go to the bubble? I say yes. I think there's much more we can do here playing and using the platform. And personally, I would share that with the players. They certainly can. I'm only asking them for about 2 hours a day, 2 or 3 hours a day, to really focus in on being a Raptor, and the rest of it, if they want to go out there and be part of the social justice reform, they got a lot of time to do that. And I think they can do both very well. So that would be my answer.
All right, all games have been postponed. Game 5 in each series will be rescheduled. It started with Milwaukee and Orlando. The Rockets and OKC followed suit. And then, as we were listening to Nick Nurse there, the Portland Trail Blazers and the Los Angeles Lakers have also decided to postpone their game. Before all of this broke, the folks from Raptors Today Extra, Savanna Hamilton, Randy Urban, and Akil Augustine, were able to talk about things from a Toronto Raptor perspective and the potential missing the game or boycott in Game 1 against the Celtics.
Thanks, Jonesy. You're watching Raptors Today Extra. My name is Savanna Hamilton, joined by Akil Augustine and Randy Urban. Guys, we had a heavy subject yesterday talking about, of course, Jacob Blake and the shooting that happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We're going to touch on that and continue the conversation in regards to the Raptors and what they should do next. But first and foremost, Akil, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling?
Wow, good question, right? Confused, encouraged, disappointed. It's a mixed bag.
Randy, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. I'm tired. It's hard to feel good during these times, to be honest.
No, I totally agree. And I was reflecting on that question myself, and there's no great answer I could give you guys.
Yeah, how are you?
How are you?
No, thanks, guys. No, I'm okay. I guess, it's an interesting time. So I want to just get to why it is. And that's because the Raptors and the Boston Celtics met up at the hotel last night to talk about the potential boycott of Game 1 in the second round. Now, Lowry texted Jay Williar exploring anything and everything. So, Akil, would you like to see the Raptors send a message and potentially boycott Game 1?
Would I like to? I don't know, because I'm often not right, about what the best course of action is to take. So this is a big one, unfathomable. I didn't think when I went to sleep a couple of days ago that I'd wake up and hear this story trending. But I will say this: if I worked at like a marketing agency in New York City or Los Angeles, and a group of people came to me and said, we are trying to make some noise with the political leaders and within this culture about what's happening in regards to police violence and institutional racism, I think, the best PR firm would come back with the threat of taking basketball away. Whether or not it goes the next step, I think a lot of people are shaking in their boots. Like, I myself am shocked, but I would imagine what parent companies and sponsors and governors of towns who depend on these businesses and mayors and those people, how they are going to react to the loss of the dollars, because to them that's going to make some sense.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult question. My feeling is that I support whatever they want to do. Right? I'm not here to say, no, you should play. Like, that's not, first of all, nobody gave anybody any flack that didn't want to go down to the bubble because of the coronavirus vaccine. So why would anybody object to people wanting to leave the bubble because of all this civil unrest? There's no logic in condemning that kind of behavior. So whatever they think is the right, this is such a complex issue. Whatever they think is the right course of action, I think if you did boycott, I feel like you would have to do more than just one game, right? I don't think you do one game and then that really solves anything. I'd like to think that it would, as Fred said, put the pressure on the elected officials and the people that can help change happen. You take away sports is North America's religion. Right? You take that away from them, and then you start to see, okay, we, on the other hand, look what happened with Colin Kaepernick, right? How many years ago was that? And now you have Goodell saying that, oh, I wish I understood. Like, it's not rocket science, you know? So go ahead, Akil.
Can I just throw this in there too? Like, if this does happen, like, I can only think of 2, maybe 3 more significant sporting moments. That is when Muhammad Ali refused to fight the Viet Cong and gave up his belt, right? And then maybe the 76 protests with the fist up, right? But I don't think there are very many moments like this if it does happen.
I totally agree. No, I feel like we're living through history right now, this very moment. This decision, whether they want to boycott the game tomorrow or not, is going to be a marker in history. At least the conversations are being had. There's so much on Twitter. And, you know, Akil, I'm going to touch back on your point real quick about it's funny how people listen when there's money involved. And if a boycott happens, if players walk out, I wonder how much more they will listen to them. Because clearly right now, especially on Twitter, what people have been feeling is that, like, right now what they're doing isn't getting the message across effectively enough. So let's jump to the tweet. Mark J. Spears, a writer for ESPN, says the Raptors head coach Nick Nurse says he has heard a couple of players talking about going home, leaving the bubble. Josh Lewenberg, I really appreciate what he wrote here. He said, for those pointing out that boycotting a basketball game won't solve a problem that's existed for centuries. Yeah, you don't think the players know that? But does that mean that we should just accept things the way they are and try to not demand change? Give your head a shake. Malcolm Miller, Toronto Raptors, said, what more are these interviews doing? Y'all know where we stand. What do you want to hear? I'm watching player and coach articulate this pain and over again on deaf ears. So guys, question goes to you. I'll start with you, Randy. How would boycotting anything or even possibly seeing a player leave the bubble affect this type of change?
I think it would be huge. I think it would send a big message. You know, I will say this, though, to add some more positivity to a dreadful situation. There are conversations that are happening that never have happened in my life. And I'm 41, you know, and it's happening on a daily basis, right? And I think you guys can probably say the same thing. Like, just in almost every social circle that I encounter within a 6-foot bubble, of course, of people, I'm having these discussions, tough discussions with people that share more or less the same types of views, but little nuanced things about this or that, or just getting to know the little more intricacies of what a Black person goes through. You know, just understanding a little bit more in detail rather than knowing that it happens and thinking that it's bad, but just really trying to feel what that is like and really trying to go through that. So I think in a way, you know, I know everybody is really upset that this is still, and when I first heard of the shooting, I was outraged. I couldn't believe it, that it's continuing to happen despite all this. Like it's widely available what's happening. It's not like this is being hidden. So, but I will say that we are just having a lot more conversations, and I don't know if that's helping, but I feel like it has to on some level, right? It has to for the next generations and the generations after that. And, you know, that's what I'll say to that. I mean,
yeah, I think I want to just take a moment to say, like, you know, I'm very proud of what the Raptors players are doing, and I think it's awesome what the NBA players are doing. But I also, like, you know, I'm always going to set the gauntlet and push the issue that much further. And I think what we need to do is, over the next little bit, be careful of the conversation of the players being frustrated, and that's why they're doing this. I think that's kind of a little bit disrespectful simply to the people who've been doing this for a long time, because this is frustrating. But it's been frustrating for a long time. And I think there has to be a certain amount of, like, measured approach and goal expectation, because, you know, if you sprint towards the finish line, you're not going to make it, right? And so I think what we need to do is temper the conversation of frustration, because it is frustrating, and understand that, like, there are people out here who've been doing this for generations, the Bell Hooks of the world, right, who have been fighting this fight with way less success than the NBA players are having. So I think we also need to pay respect to the people outside of the NBA who have set up the kind of things that the NBA players want to execute, and be careful with this conversation of frustration, because there are millions of people out there who have been fighting this battle. And so I think what the NBA players are doing are amazing, but the media and the people surrounding it need to be very careful not to disrespect the work being done by other people and kind of placing the frustration of NBA players above the frustration of the people in the streets of Minneapolis and the people who are siding with the NAACP and the people who are crafting legislation. And let's not just turn this into a celebrity factor issue. But I am so proud of Fred and Kyle and the Boston Celtics and LeBron James and everybody who's stood up. But I do want to challenge the media to cancel this frustration talk, because, you know, we're here for the marathon.
And just to, you know, kind of go back on the positivity and bring back a little bit more reality. You know, there's a reason why the frustration is boiling over too, because all these things are happening, and then you see I saw a headline today of this white man that shot and killed protesters last night in Kenosha with an AR-15, and they called him a police sympathizer or
no, he's a terrorist.
Instead of, yeah, he is a terrorist. He is a racist. He is a white supremacist. He is somebody that's trying to, you know, so that's, how do you not be outraged by those things as well, right?
You know, it's funny, Randy, I was just going to ask the question and get deeper into it, but you nailed it. I was just going to say, why? Why are they thinking about boycotting? And that is the reason that you just illustrated there, because people don't get it. People outside of the bubble, there's a life going on with Black Lives Matter, with the police brutality towards protesters. You got to understand why they're protesting. And so that being said, thank you guys so much for your thoughts and vulnerability and sharing your opinions on this. We need to have these discussions. And yeah, they're redundant. They might feel frustrating, but the whole situation is, and it's not going to change until something is fixed. So thank you guys once again. Back to you, Jonesy.
All right, Savanna. And all 3 Game 5s canceled. And Sherm, now we learned that the NBA players, it's convenient that they're in the bubble. Everybody's there. They can have a meeting tonight in Orlando to determine the next steps.
Absolutely the right thing to do, and all of them need to get together and get on the same page. And listen, people can say that it's not enough, but they're doing something, and they're trying to make a difference. And to me, that's a good thing. So I commend them. And anybody who's knocking them, saying they're not doing enough, go do more. Find a way to be or to have more impact. I commend these guys for what they're doing. Basketball doesn't matter right now. There are bigger things on the table.
Yeah, they are using their platform in the best way possible to try and drive and direct change. For Patrick Choi, Jake LaRue behind the camera, Savanna, Randy, and Akil, and my man Sherman Hamilton, I'm Paul Jones saying thank you for watching us on the virtual edition of Raptors Today.